name's Susan. I'm joined by Julia and also Iona. And this is a relaxed session, so please feel free to add any questions into the chat or turn your microphone on if you'd like to ask a question. We don't have a big amount of people here this afternoon, so I'm more than happy if you'd like to just shout out and ask a question during this session. We'd also like the session to be two-way, so please share how you're using any of the digital tools that we're talking about via the chat window. I will pause now and again to share information that has been shared because, again, we would like it to be two-way. And I know there's lots of things happening across schools in Scotland with regards to digital tools and creativity. So it's always great to learn from each other as well. So the agenda for this afternoon, which is quite aspirational because we've only got you for an hour. It'd be brilliant if we had you for half a day, but never mind, 1 hour will do. We're going to look at our creative curriculum, creativity skills and why they are so important. How can we be creative using digital tools in the classroom? We're going to talk about rich media and what I mean by the words rich media. We're going to look at examples of creativity in numeracy and maths, literacy and English, and in the early years. And before we finish, most importantly, where you can go for extra help and support. I'm now going to pass over to my colleague, Julia.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, so I'm going to start out this afternoon with just an overview of our curriculum and why it is a creative curriculum and why creativity is such an important part of what we all do. We had an Education Scotland event a year or so ago, which John Swinney was speaking at, and there was a discussion around the curriculum and the approach that we take in Scotland. And in response to a question about the approach that we take, he replied, there's the tell me what to do model and the creative model. And in Scotland, we've opted for the creative model. And that's so important to us. And it's actually looked upon with envy from other countries around the world because that gives us a lot of scope to do things differently and do things in a way that really works for our children and young people. Thanks, Susan. Next slide, please. You may be familiar with this microsite, which was the result of a piece of work many partners involved in education did just over a year ago. It's got a refreshed narrative on Scotland's curriculum. So there's nothing new in this. It's all about curriculum for excellence, but it just reminds us all of some of the key principles on which curriculum for excellence is based. It's a really great microsite. If you haven't seen it, do have a look. It's really simply laid out, and it just presents all of the key elements of the curriculum in a way that gives us a really helpful reminder. And it's designed to stimulate professional dialogue about the curriculum and to really help us to think through what are, why do we do what we do, and what do we really want for our children and young people to make sure they're equipped and ready for what is a very unpredictable and fast-changing world that they're going to be living and working in, and we want them to thrive in that world. What the refreshed narrative does is it does bring some kind of points right up to date. So, for example, the bullets on the slide show you that it reminds us of the 4 capacities, and it says to make sure that we're making links to future skills, for example, meta skills, which I'll talk about in a minute. It also encourages us to embed creativity and learning for sustainability in our curriculum design. Thanks, Susan. So yes, you may be familiar with the term meta skills. It's featured in a report that Skills Development Scotland produced about skills for the future. And it's a term that really incorporates these three groupings of skills: self-management, social intelligence, and innovation. And you'll see that creativity and critical thinking are right in there. And these are skills that are seen as being important for the future because they are the skills that make us human and that can't be replicated by machines or artificial intelligence. So those are the skills we're really being encouraged to hone in on and celebrate. Thanks, Susan. And this is from a series of infographics we produced in Education Scotland, which really show how creativity is the colour that runs through Curriculum for Excellence. And for example, here it shows you how a creative learner in the 4 capacities will be exhibiting behaviours and skills which are absolutely connected to creativity. So each of the 4 capacities has the potential to develop young people's creativity, and the bullets there are examples of elements of creativity that are really important across teaching and learning. So, for example, to be a confident individual, you might take risks and develop your own ideas. To be a successful learner, you need to be open to new thinking, open-minded and persistent and determined, and able, importantly, to transfer your creativity to other settings. So just a couple of examples there of how creativity really runs through Curriculum for Excellence. Thanks, Susan. And in a more simple infographic, we know that the word creativity can be a kind of a linguistic barrier for some people, if you want to put it that way. They might think creativity, that's not for me. They might think you're talking about the arts, or they might just think I'm not very creative. But so what we wanted to do was find some 4 core elements of creativity to help people understand why it's what it is, first of all, and why it's important right across learning and right across whatever your specialism or the level that you teach, the age of young people that you teach. So, and we found that these 4 terms really help people to grasp quickly what creativity is, and they can quickly see that absolutely they embed that in their work, and this is a key part of their teaching and learning. But we have found it's really helpful and important that we talk about these skills with our learners so that they are aware of what their creativity skills are, and they're talking about them, and it's part of the dialogue between teacher and learner. Thanks, Susan. And then to summarise, what creative learners will be is they'll be motivated and ambitious for change for the better, confident in their own viewpoint, able to apply their creativity in other contexts, and often also able to lead and work well with others. So absolutely skills that we would want our young people to have. Thanks, Susan. And this is just a quick slide, which is a useful one to think about the world of employability. The World Economic Forum every 5 years does a survey with employers, asking them what are the skills they predict are going to be important in the next 5 years when they're employing people to work in their businesses. And creativity has featured in the last 2, and kind of increasingly gone higher up the list. This one, looking forwards to the next 4 years, you'll see that the top 4 of the top 5 skills are under the blue icons, which indicate problem solving, and problem solving is a key part of creativity. So it's just showing you how important this is, thinking about our young people's future, and again how we can help them to thrive in their careers in the future. Thanks, Susan. And now we have a short film animation which was produced by our creativity team in Education Scotland to help illustrate how, whatever your subject specialism is or whatever subject you're teaching, there are opportunities to develop creativity skills through them.
How can my subject develop creativity skills? Even subjects which may appear naturally creative, like visual arts, dance, music, can have a focus on learning technical skills and facts. These do not in themselves require learners to use their creativity skills or follow a creative process. It's not the subject that is creative, it's the approach and how we apply the technical skills and facts we learn. All subjects can be enriched by being delivered creatively. Sometimes it can be difficult to spot the opportunities. So here are 3 simple tips to help you do this. 1. Identify the creative learning opportunities. Anything that challenges learners to invent, explore, synthesize, experiment, and lead. All help to develop creativity skills. Look for areas of your own subject where learners can apply these approaches. 2. Get creative. Use creative learning to enrich an individual topic or lesson plan and make it more challenging. Encourage curiosity by demanding good questions that allow learners to follow their interests. Encourage open-mindedness by challenging expectations, dispelling preconceptions, and offering multiple perspectives. Engage your learners' imaginations by asking what-if questions and encouraging invention. Develop problem-solving skills by setting complex and open-ended challenges. 3. Use interdisciplinary learning. Working with other subjects challenges learners' imaginations, open-mindedness, and other creativity skills. The intersections between them can be rich areas for creative learning and thinking, and the expressive arts can be a natural partner for any subject. There is no such thing as an uncreative subject, and creativity skills, a responsibility of all, can be applied right across learning.
Yeah, that's definitely the loudest it can go. Did it sound okay at your side, Julia?
Yes, it did. Thanks, Susan. That was great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Susan,
Okay,
there's just a question in the chat saying, can we have a link to that video?
Yes, absolutely. I will find it while Susan's talking. I'll put it in the chat for you.
perfect.
So much.
Thank you. Okay. So thanks, Julia, for outlining how important creativity skills are. I really enjoyed hearing the skills learners develop when they are creative and how these skills are in the top 10 skills for the future. The late, great Sir Ken Robinson was also passionate about how important creativity skills are. So let's look at how we can use digital tools creatively in the classroom. So my part of this session will look at how we can be creative using digital tools we have access to in the classroom. It's not about buying more kit, but making the most out of what we already have access to. However, a lot of the examples I have used are created using a mobile device rather than a laptop. This is purely because mobile devices like iPads are flexible with built-in apps that can be used to create different kinds of rich media and capturing pupil voice. It also links into outdoor learning, so it's much easier taking a mobile device outside to capture data and then take it back inside and create something with it. So these apps that we're going to look at are intuitive and easy to use. Therefore, learners can focus on the content rather than trying to figure out how to use the app. We also want our learners to be creators rather than consumers, which means instead of using a device to do some research and type up what their findings are, they're taking that content and creating something with it. Usually this involves some kinds of rich media, and again, I am going to share some examples with you this afternoon. So what do I mean by rich media? Learners could create some sound files or podcasts. This is particularly useful if learners don't have permission to be videoed. Learners could take photographs and videos and then create something like a slideshow or a movie with titles and transitions. Another option would be creating animations and using apps or web-based tools. When learners are creating rich media, then they need to make sure they've prepared beforehand. This could mean pooling together their content knowledge, possibly working in cooperative groups where they take on different roles and responsibilities, sourcing copyright-free graphics and any other materials they would like to use, then creating a script and a storyboard before they even go near any device. If all this background work is done beforehand, then the creation process is much easier. So why use rich media? If learners are creating rich media, then it helps to embed the learning. So for example, I've just mentioned that they'd have to create a script and a storyboard. So again, it makes the learning hopefully be embedded. If they're then reciting that information in front of a device to be recorded, that helps to embed the learning and also build confidence. The end product could be used as a reflection tool. And as an example, I might be recording numbers 1 to 10 in French this week. However, in 2 weeks' time, I might forget some of the numbers, but I can use my video that I created as a reflection tool. It can also be used as evidence of progression. And again, staying with the languages theme, if I do create a series of videos, hopefully my teacher would hear me progressing with that language skill. It also helps enhance digital skills. A lot of the time, learners are using shared devices. We don't all have the luxury of having one-to-one devices in the classroom. If it is a shared device, then the learner needs to understand that whatever they create needs to be saved from that device. It needs to be saved to free up some space or in case it gets deleted by another learner. Ideally, Glow is a platform that we use for saving this kind of content because it's cloud-based and accessible anywhere we have an internet connection. And whether you're using Office 365 or G Suite, there's both have some file storage, whether it's in OneDrive or G Drive. The learner would then download the content, whether it's a video or an animation or a sound file, upload it into Glow, and then it's accessible anywhere they have an internet connection. It also allows for parental engagement because they could log on to Glow at home and share what they've been creating in school. It could also be popped into a digital profile as evidence of progression and latest and best work. The process of creating rich media allows practitioners and learners the ability to unleash their creativity. Learners could be using tools like green screen apps to transport themselves anywhere in the world and into any period in time. Why not deliver a live news report in front of an erupting volcano, or from an international space station, or travel back in time to report from the front line from the Battle of Bannockburn? It's absolutely endless what you can do with a simple green screen app. I did used to use an app called Do Ink, and that cost about £3. However, it has been integrated into iMovie, so you can create green screen videos using the free app called iMovie. I will say that if you are looking at any apps, please make sure you run it past your information security officer or your digital lead for your local authority to make sure that app is appropriate to use with learners. So how can we measure how digital tools are being used to develop digital skills and creativity in the classroom? The state of Maine in America made a huge investment in technology where every young person was given a MacBook. The local government wanted to measure how the technology was being used, so they brought in Dr. Rubens Pontedera. He then created the SAMR model, and you can see the SAMR model on the screen. The SAMR model is divided into 4 areas, and these 4 areas sit underneath either enhancement or transformation. So let's have a look. The top one is substitution. Technology acts as a direct substitute with no functional change. So instead of writing up a poem, the learners have typed their poem. The technology isn't adding any educational value. I will say that learners in primary school do have to use substitution now and again because they do have to learn how to type. However, as they go through school, especially into secondary schools, we wouldn't want to see the technology just being used as substitution level, just typing up words. They could move on to augmentation. Technology acts as a direct substitute with functional improvement. So that poem could now have interactive links and possibly pictures embedded. So you can see then how the technology has augmented that simple task of writing up a poem. Modification. Technology allows for significant task redesign. So actually the pupils could record themselves narrating the poem and then create some kind of ebook, for example, where they've got information about how they created the poem, any background research, and photographs and videos if they want. Redefinition. Technology allows for the creation of a new task previously unconceivable. So they could use green screen technology and transport themselves anywhere in the world that reflects what their poem was about. I will show you some more examples of the SAMR model in the next few slides. If you go into a coffee shop, then you'll also see the SAMR model there. And this is quite a nice slide to see it in practice. So substitution, you go into your coffee shop and you just ask for a coffee. Probably doesn't taste any better than what you have at home. However, if you ask for a latte, then they've augmented that coffee with some frothy milk. However, they could modify that coffee by creating a caramel macchiato. And right up at redefinition level, we have the pumpkin spice white chocolate and mocha, which is miles apart from the regular coffee on the left-hand side. I'll just pause for a second just now. Please let us know in the chat if you've heard of the SAMR model before, or if you've got any comments or feedback about it.
Fiona's saying it's new to her, and yeah, new to a couple of people. One person's heard of it.
Excellent. Thanks, Julia. So this is a nice example. So the task in the classroom is to investigate places in the town in French. So substitution level, word processing, typing up the piece of writing or a list of vocabulary around that topic. So it's not adding any educational value apart from just learning how to type. However, what happens if the learners create a PowerPoint and add hyperlinks and pictures that link to places in the town? The PowerPoint application has now augmented that task because you couldn't do that in a regular standard jotter. However, what would happen if the learners created an ebook using an app like Book Creator, where they can include text and pictures and hyperlinks and videos, but the all-important student narration? It's nice and easy to just click record and capture learners' voices using an app like Book Creator. And then they have an electronic book as an end product to exemplify their learning around places in the town in French. However, redefinition, the learners have went on to Google Earth. They've taken some screenshots of places in the town. They might have went to Paris. They've created a storyboard and a script, and they've created a video where they've been green screened into a French town. They've pulled all this information together into an ebook with pictures, text, video, narration, and hyperlinks. So you can see how that task has went through a journey at substitution level right up to redefinition. Modification and redefinition is quite exciting, and it builds student confidence and digital skills and creativity skills. However, you can't do that every single day with every single task. Your learners would be tired and you would be tired as well. But now and again, as an end product for a piece of learning or a piece of work, it would be nice to see the modification or redefinition level. So let's have a look at some examples of creativity in numeracy and maths. So this example here, the task was to find out how learners got to school. And I'm sure we've all seen it where learners go around the classroom with a clipboard and they just tick it off on a piece of paper and they come back with the results. So this is a little bit different. So let's have a look at the video and then we can have a chat about it after.
We wanted to find out how we got to school. We created a Microsoft form in Globe. We shared the form with our class using QR code. This was our form. There were 28 responses. We could see the responses in a pie chart. If we clicked on the chart, we could see the percentages. We opened the data in Excel. We removed the columns we didn't need. We sorted the column alphabetically. We wanted to create an animation in Keynote. We added a pie chart with the data. We then added some graphics.
So this example looked at the learners using Microsoft Forms within the Glow environment. They created their form and they went round and they asked the question to all their peers in their classroom. They then exported that data into an Excel spreadsheet. They could also view that data in the application Microsoft Forms as a pie chart where they could see the percentages. You then saw how they went into Keynote, which is just a presentation tool, and how they created an animation using the data that they'd exported from the spreadsheet. They then captured all that learning, all that piece of work, using an app called Apple Clips, where they created a short video that outlined the process that they followed. And that can be used as evidence at the end of that piece of work. Please let us know in the chat if you've used Microsoft Forms or if you've used Apple Clips to capture evidence of learning. The next one we're going to look at is Adobe Spark Video. And the challenge the learners were set for this one was to look at shapes and angles particularly. So the learners investigated angles and then they were asked to go outside and take photographs and identify angles outside their house.
A right angle is 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is more than 90 degrees. An acute angle is less than 90 degrees. All the angles of a triangle must equal 180 degrees.
So that's an excellent way of getting learners outside, integrating some outdoor learning, capturing their photographs and then taking it into the classroom and creating a short bite-sized video that exemplified what they'd learned. I'll pause for a second to make sure there's no comments or questions in the chat.
Hi, Susan. Just a few comments in response to your previous questions about what people have used before. They've used forms, but quite a lot of people are new to Apple Clips and Keynote.
Thank you. So you'll notice going through this presentation, this isn't a how-to session. Hopefully this will give you some inspiration and ideas of how you could use tools in your classroom. At the end, I will show you how you can access videos that are how-tos, but importantly, we need that information back from you through the evaluation if there's any of these apps or tools that you would like to see in more detail. So the next one I want to look at is creativity in literacy in English. So this one here, the challenge was to create a book report. Now I think we've all been there where the learners write up their book report and then hand it in to their teacher. However, there's lots of things you can do with regards to creating a book report. The learner in this example pulled all her information into a Sway presentation. Now Sway is included in the Glow platform, and it's an interactive presentation tool. The benefit with Sway, lots of schools are using Sway because you can make them public. So lots of schools are using them for newsletters. However, in this example, the learner kept it within the Glow environment and just used it for her book report. And towards the end, you'll also see she embedded a video. So not only did she create the digital book report, she also created a green screen video where she talked about the book. So you can see we're just going to scroll through the Sway presentation. She's researched the author. She's managed to find some copyright-free images. She's typed up the information about the book report. You can see she's chunked it into sections where the dynamic headers come in from the left. She's given it a star rating, but she's also included built-in narration. So you can see the sound files are embedded into her presentation. And here's her green screen video. So you can see how she's got her background graphics. So that was created with an application called Serif Craft Artist, where it was copyright-free material that the local authority had purchased. However, this could also be the child's own drawings. And throughout the book report, the background graphics changed as she went through her storyboard. She then took this into iMovie, where she added on her title screen, her transitions, and there was some background music there as well. But that was then finally embedded into her Sway presentation about her book report. So again, thinking about the SAMR model, you can see how this has evolved using digital tools. So this one here was again the end of a topic that was World War II in a primary classroom. The learner in this one, she created an ebook using Book Creator. But one page in her ebook was a bit like the talking newspapers that you see if you watch the Harry Potter movies, where the newspapers come to life. So she's created her newspaper page, but she's also embedded a video that I'll play in a second. The video pulls together her content knowledge about World War II. She added on an old filter that looked like black and white, and she's also got some background sound. I'm not sure if you'll hear it in this video, but I'll play it just now.
It was dangerous living in a big city during the war. Cities were the target of enemy aircraft that flew over at night without warning. On the 7th September 1940, the Germans
So again, she's created her script and her storyboard. Her background copyright-free images have changed as she's went through it. And she's added that background sound effects to make it look really authentic. But remember, always start small. Find out what works for you in your classroom with your learners and see how far they want to go with the technology. I'm just going to pause for a second just now, just to make sure there's no questions in the chat.
One question, which is somebody would like to know more about ebooks.
Ebooks. So Book Creator is probably the most popular application in schools across Scotland. You can download it for free. The downside with the free version is that you can only create one book. Once you've created one book, you can export it, either publish it online, or you can save it into OneDrive or G Drive, and then you can delete all the information in the book and start with a new book. It's always better to start with a free app before you go for the paid app to get some feedback from your learners. Some schools use digital leaders, and they're the ones that test and evaluate any new apps and then provide feedback to their peers and their teacher. We do have a video that outlines how to make the best use of Book Creator, and I'll send you a link to that at the end of this presentation.
There's a couple more questions, Susan. One is, can it be used on a PC?
It can be used in a Chromebook, and I'm pretty sure it can be used in a Chrome browser. If you Google Book Creator, it tells you all the information on their website. I'm pretty sure it's on the Chrome browser, you can use it.
Okay, thank you. And there's a little bit of a conversation about whether you can use Book Creator in class. Somebody was given the information that you can't use it unless children are all set up with accounts. And then somebody else is saying they have used Book Creator free and have up to 40 books for the class.
Yeah, that's on the Chrome browser.
Okay, are there any age limits for the apps?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard question. I would have to Google it, I'm afraid.
Okay.
I think the majority of them are absolutely fine to use in a primary school and a secondary school, as long as they have that all-important DPIA completed at local authority level. DPIA is your Data Privacy Impact Assessment, and that has to be done at local authority before you can use any kind of web-based tool or application. Again, if you want any more information about that, your digital lead or your information security officer will be able to help. If you don't know who that is, please pop it into the chat and I can support you at the end with letting you know who that person is.
Brilliant. Thanks, Susan.
Brilliant. Okay, so this next one we're going to look at is using iMovie, Apple Maps, and green screen. But for this example, the learner wasn't, well, it was actually me created this one, but this would help if learners aren't allowed to be videoed. So this example, I used a Bitmoji on a green stick and used a green screen to transport them to visit different landmarks all over the world. So let's have a look at this one. Let's explore some world landmarks. Tower Bridge in London is a combined bascule and suspension bridge. It was opened on the 30th of June, 1894. The Eiffel Tower in Paris is a wrought iron lattice tower. The height is 324 meters and it was founded in 1887. Taj Mahal in Agra, India, is a white marble building that stands 73 meters tall. So you can see these transitions are actually already included in iMovie. There's different themes that you can choose from that give you a really nice end product. These were just screenshots of Apple Maps. And then we had some copyright-free pictures of the landmarks with the Bitmoji that was created in green screen. But if I spin to the end, you'll see how you can have a flyover using Apple Maps, and that can be recorded on your iPad. So it truly gives a really immersive feeling if you are doing landmarks, for example, or cities. The record feature is built into the iPad, and it can also capture pupil voice as well. I've just had a wee look, and your iMovie is age 4+. I couldn't look for Book Creator because I was on a phone. It's not compatible with a phone, but I'm sure it's something similar. But again, that's something you can find out in the App Store or online. The next one I'd like to look at is Van Gogh's Starry Night. It's been brought to life using virtual reality software. Learners can be transported inside the painting to explore the piece of art. They can gain a close-up experience and even venture inside the house in the painting. This is truly exciting and engaging for learners. This experience could support learners before they create their own piece of artwork. It could act as a stimulus for a piece of creative writing or poetry task, or learners could create something similar using their art and green screen technology. Please share in the chat how you think you could use this with your learners. So this was simply a 360 video that you can find on YouTube. I am going to share all the links at the end of this session. But you can imagine how that video could be used as a creative writing stimulus or before an art piece of work. Ideally, you could use that with a Google Cardboard if you had access to iPods so the pupils could be immersed in the picture, or you could simply just put it onto your interactive board and you can then just scroll about. Or you could just have an iPad, and then when you're moving with the iPad, you can look at all different areas of the painting, down in the ground, up in the sky, in the houses, for example. I'll just pause for a second, see if there's anything in the chat, Julia.
Yeah. One comment, a lovely idea, just that, oh, sorry, just opened something on my machine by mistake. We might use it in art to discuss form and other artistic techniques, or as you suggest, for inspirational purposes for writing.
Brilliant. Thanks, Julia.
Okay.
Let's look at a couple of examples in creativity in the early years. So here we have a picture that was taken using a camera on an iPad. I delivered a session using digital tools for outdoor learning, and this was one of the pictures. The session looked at capturing, creating, and sharing outdoor learning experiences, but this also applies to using digital tools in the classroom. So once learners have captured data, in this case it's a picture, then they can create something with it. The camera tool on the iPad has a built-in editing tool where you can bring your picture to life. These tools can be accessed when pictures are in edit mode, and you can open the markup tools. Learners can then annotate the pictures, like the example I have on the slide, where they've drawn on some eyes and eyebrows and a smiley face. Again, this could be a stimulus for storytelling. In the classroom, this could be shared to the whole class, where everyone can have an input to the story of the buttercup. The buttercup could be edited further using many apps that are available. This example was created using Chatterpix, and you can see how this tool can capture pupil voice. That was maybe a bit quiet, but it just means using an app like Chatterpix, the learners would simply draw a mouth, and then when they speak to the app, it makes the mouth move at the same time. Again, it's really exciting and engaging for our young people, builds up their confidence and captures their voice. It's so important early years to build confidence and imagination, and this can be done by capturing voice and storytelling. Using apps like Puppet Pals, learners have the ability to choose their own characters, backgrounds, and record their voice. This would have been quite tricky a number of years ago, but these apps are now freely available, and if you have a mobile device in your establishment. So this one here, Puppet Pals, again, you get the free version, but you also get a paid-for version if it's something that you want to use in your classroom. The paid-for version allows pupils to import their own pictures. The free version only has the fairy tale characters, which is absolutely fine if you're investigating how to use the app. But if you want to use it maybe further across your school, you might be doing, for example, a topic about Romans or Vikings. And with the paid-for app, learners can find copyright-free images of Romans and Vikings and then import them into this app to create an animation. I've just shared a very small snapshot of how digital tools can be used creatively in numeracy, math, literacy and English, and in the early years. Let's think about how we can use digital tools creatively in other areas of the curriculum. If you have any ideas or would like to share how your learners are using digital tools creatively, then please add this to the chat. Julia shared how the refreshed narrative on Scotland's curriculum is an opportunity to celebrate the successes of C4E, stimulate fresh thinking and professional dialogue to maximise opportunities for our children and young people, making clear links to future skills, for example, meta skills, but also embedding creativity and learning for sustainability in the curriculum. Again, let's think about the other curriculum areas. Social studies, creating news reports from the polar ice caps, for an example. Religious and moral education, creating an animation to exemplify learning. Sciences, capturing science experiments, using slow-mo to slow down experiments and add a voiceover. Expressive arts, creating an interactive art gallery linking to videos of learners explaining how they created their piece of art. Health and well-being, create an interactive multimedia ebook tracking fitness activities. Again, please share any ideas you have in the chat. Help and support. We've got the document of what the digital learning might look like, and again, I'm going to share all the links to these resources at the end of this presentation. Just now, what the digital learning might look like is only early to second level, but the team are looking at the upper levels. There's also the DigiLearn Scot blog, where you can see learning paths along the top if you wanted to find out about different tools within Glow. However, we've also got our webinars, and all our webinars are recorded. So for example, if you wanted to find out more about evidencing learning using an iPod, or evidencing learning using Book Creator, or using iMovie and green screen, or ThingLink, for example, these have all been recorded and they're all on Did You Learn Scott? Everyone Can Create is a suite of resources that can be used with Apple devices. You can see the selection on the screen. These are available online from iBooks. The projects in Everyone Can Create guides teachers and students to develop and communicate ideas through video, photography, music, and drawing. And they help ignite creativity by giving teachers fun and meaningful ways to bring these skills into any lesson in any year group. I'm a huge fan of Twitter, and I get lots of ideas from Twitter because schools across Scotland and across the globe are sharing ways that they are using digital tools in their classroom creatively. You can see the two handles that I've shared on the screen at Did You Learn Scott and at Creative Portal. I'm now going to pass back over to Julia.
Thank you, Susan. Yes, we have loads of really great resources which are available on the National Improvement Hub. And as Susan said, we'll share links with you in the chat to everything from this presentation. But I'll just talk you through them. There are a series of short 2-minute films as you can see here. The Creativity Toolbox is designed specifically with practitioners in mind, with some ideas of how you can instantly bring some creativity into your thinking. They're a set of approaches that we use. They're kind of tried and tested approaches to bringing more creativity into your thinking. For example, you'll all be familiar with brainstorming, the first one to generate ideas. But number 2 is really interesting. It's queststorming, generating lots of questions, and generating good questions is a really key part of creativity, because that can just, if you find a really good question you want to explore, that can stimulate hugely creative learning. And so if you imagine you're not allowed to answer any of the questions, you just keep on generating more questions and seeing what you come up with. So that's a good one. We quite often use polarization, which is looking at extremes. That's a really helpful way. So, for example, we would usually be naturally drawn to trying to think of the best possible outcome for a challenge. So you were trying to address bullying in school. So you would naturally think, okay, what are all the things we can do to solve that problem? Sometimes this might sound ridiculous, but it can be really helpful to think about the opposite. So what would we do if we wanted to make that worse? And in going there to the opposite extremes, you sometimes come up with some really great ideas that can be useful, because it just flips your thinking. And one more, I'll just give you an example. What would Scooby do is simply trying on somebody else's hat, if you like. So you've got a creative challenge, which might be we want to design a new school uniform. So you might take 3 different people and think about that challenge through their eyes. So what would Scooby-Doo do? What would Greta Thunberg do? Or what would Joe Wicks do? And you can imagine you would get some very different thinking from doing that. Thanks, Susan. Another set of films, and this set is designed to be used in the classroom with your learners, or indeed for practitioners in the staff room or professional development sessions. They're really good fun. Again, just 2 minutes, and they are designed especially to get your creative thinking going. So we use them a lot when we're doing a workshop or a professional development session, just to kind of liven up the brain. And again, they're really good fun. Great ideas. There's 27 of those, and they're all based on the creativity skills too. Thanks, Susan. 10 short animations, one of which we shared with you earlier on. You can see from the subjects listed there what areas they cover and address. But we wanted with these animations to really kind of capture the essence of creativity, so that the animations are very creative in themselves, and take themes such as, what does a creative school look like? How do we assess creativity skills? So do you have a look at those? They're we hope they're really helpful. Thanks, Susan.
Bob, thanks, Julia. So we've crammed quite a lot into the last hour. Julia outlined our creative curriculum and creativity skills and why they are important. We then looked at how we can be creative using digital tools in the classroom and what we meant by rich media. I then shared some examples around creativity in numeracy in maths, literacy in English, and in the early years, and where to go for extra help and support. Now, Iona and Julia have links, so we've got all the links saved into one sway, which we'll put into the chat. But more importantly, if there's anything that you want to look at in more detail, in more depth, please feed it back in the evaluation. We can then create sessions based on the feedback we get from yourselves.